please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please let the record note, with the exception of Mr. Von Lossberg, Ms. Armstrong, and Ms. West, all council members are present. We have minutes of the meeting of February 25th. Without objection, they'll be approved. Seeing none, move on to schedule of committee reports. Ms. Rabine.
Let's see. We have 4 committee meetings this coming Wednesday, the 6th of March. The first one is the Administration and Finance Committee. It's meeting at 9:20 till 9:55. Parks and Conservation Committee will meet from 10 o'clock in the morning to 10:25. The Land Use and Planning Committee will meet from 10:30 in the morning until noon. Public Works Committee will meet from 12:30 to 1:50. And all of those meetings are being held right here in the City Council chambers, 140 West Pine Street.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to the committee schedule this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the general public comment portion of our agenda. Anyone who has anything to say on items not elsewhere on the agenda, you're welcome this evening. Mr. Grimm.
Hi, I'm Doug Grimm from the Rattlesnake. I hear everywhere I go people complaining about the weather. And my feeling is this is great because we have lost a tremendous number, many square miles, of our pine trees in Montana because we haven't had weather like this on a regular basis. My understanding is, and this is my memory from many years ago, is that we need to get the temperature down to minus 20 degrees for 3 days in a row, and the spruce bud bark beetle larvae are killed. Now, it doesn't have to get down to minus 20 right here on Higgins Avenue, but it's really nice if it would do it up there where the trees are growing. Okay, that's why I like this cold winter that we're having for a few days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Other general public comment this evening? Mr. Larson. That microphone will move anywhere you need it to move.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Dan Larson, and I live here in Missoula, Montana. I live off of Scott Street Bridge on the north side. I live in a new development over there, and I work off of North Reserve Street, off of Howard Razor Drive. I work at Consumer Direct Care Network. In the good temperature, the good weather, it's not now. I like to travel my wheelchair from work to home. And I do that by going over Cemetery Road. Now this street is very dangerous for bicyclists, pedestrians, and wheelchair users like myself. I've been talking about this issue for now 2 or 3 years. We are in year 6 of the redevelopment plan of Scott Street in North Reserve, and there hasn't been much at all improvements along that stretch. So now I'm trying to gather support. Not only myself, I'm reaching out to businesses and residents to try to get support behind improving the stretch of road. And I brought you a flyer to take a look at. I'm hoping that next month, Mayor England, we can add this to the agenda and talk a little bit more about where we are with the plan. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Okay. I think we're good, Darren. Thanks. But I'll reach out. We'll get together.
Okay, good
Okay.
deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other general public comment this evening? Mr. Decker.
I'm Josh Decker from Ward 1, and I'm here tonight to talk to council about possible funding sources for issues that I've addressed with you earlier in other meetings about emergent unhoused issues that we all are up to speed on. I want to talk to you about commercial and residential linkage fees or impact fees and how those could help provide funding solutions for council to address the larger issue of housing crisis in Missoula. Rampant development brings a host of issues, infrastructural, service-related, and social stratification being one of them. Issues of the unhoused are amongst those issues that come with development. And by applying linkage fees based on square footage, communities such as Seattle, Boston, Denver, Bay Area have acquired funding sources and trade-off incentives for low-income housing in their communities. And I think it's an avenue that needs to be explored. In the Bay Area, 4 counties surrounding San Francisco, 16 cities have a residential linkage fee attachment, and 13 cities have a commercial residential or commercial linkage fee attachment that funds anywhere from $2 to $20 a square foot back to city coffers for, development of earmarked funding. You could do what you want with it. Some of it could be left in an emergency fund to handle emergent issues of the unhoused in the future. So, thanks. Something to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Other comment this evening? Mr. Wiggin.
My name's Gil Wiggin, and I don't know what ward I live in, but I live in the University District. I wasn't actually planning on speaking tonight, but Josh reminded me of some budgetary ideas that came up in a meeting I had recently with Teresa Williams, as well as other people, including April Yost from United Ministries, something, I can't recall. Anyway, one of the things we talked about, like issues that get in the way of the current programs to aid the unhoused in Missoula, comes down to the approval or acceptance of the housing vouchers that the city is able to give out. And as it stands right now, due to complicated laws in Montana that largely favor landlords over tenants, it gives landlords the opportunity to reject applications even if they have things like guaranteed paid rent for an entire year, like our housing voucher system has. One of the ideas that we talked about to get around the legal stipulations that exist with landlords and their ability to reject applications was the idea of effectively using a contract, an obligatory contract when new housing developments arrive, such as the one that you guys approved rezoning for a couple weeks ago, so that 3 trailers can become a condo building, I think. Basically, while allowing re-permitting or rezoning, also signing a contract obligating them to honor any city-offered vouchers. So that if someone is going to get money from this city for development or get special exclusions, they also need to honor the city's programs that help the unhoused. That's about it. Sorry, I didn't have something prepared, so I'm a little jumpy, but thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other general public comment?
Good evening. Amy Allison Thompson from the Poverello Center. I just wanted to quickly provide an update about how things are going. As you all know, we at the Poverello Center have been providing warming space during the day and have been for the past couple of weeks. That has been going well during the day. We've been busy, busier than normal, but I see that as a good thing because I'm happy to be providing life-saving space, especially when it is so cold out. I know a lot of the news articles recently have been stating that we are, over capacity every night and turning people away, and that's actually not been the case, but that has not been, no one has called to ask me that, so that has not been confirmed. But I wanted to let you guys know that the Salvation Army has been extremely busy providing their overflow space. I've been tracking and working closely with the Salvation Army and asking them what their numbers are looking like and comparing them with ours. And what I've seen on the busiest night so far was 245 people needing emergency shelter. And as you know, the Poverello Center is able to provide 175. So I think the Salvation Army, the highest I've heard, they've slept around 70. And so that's just something to keep in mind is that 245 number. I think as we continue through the next couple of weeks, I'll keep in contact with the Salvation Army to understand what numbers are looking like, and that I think will help us to have a better sense going into next winter. Unfortunately, in this position, I'm already thinking about next winter and what we're going to be doing, but I look forward to having a community conversation this spring to really have a good plan going into next year and making sure we have a good plan in place. I do want to thank the folks, Food Not Bombs especially, as well as other volunteers who stepped up to provide space at the transfer center. It was extremely helpful and was helpful for our staff and our clients to know that there was a place to go. And then also just extremely appreciative of the Mountain Line providing an extra stop for folks who are heading over to the Salvation Army at night. During the weekends, during this current arrangement for warming space, we had gotten together a group of volunteers through the Missoula Interfaith Collaborative, I believe Food Not Bombs as well, and some other volunteers have stepped up to provide that transportation, and a donor has also stepped up to help provide some funding for that as well. So things are working pretty well at this moment, and just wanted to provide that update and let you all know that there's lots of work yet to be done, but things are going okay at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allison Thompson. Other general comment this evening? Mr. Moore.
Thank you, sir. One thing I'm getting really concerned about is if you start giving all this help to poor people, you're not going to be able to give money to the rich people.
Mr. Moore, why don't you identify yourself for the record and push that microphone a little closer to you?
Okay, well, you've always done that. So
Thank you, sir.
My name is Bob Moore. Saw in the paper the other day about the ribbon cutting for the hotel. I think the city of Missoula is very lucky to have the strength and leadership of a gentleman like John. The hotel received $3.59 million in tax increment financing from the Missoula Redevelopment Agency. The money will be paid back by the increase in property taxes the hotel generates. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you pay money back, you're going to pay it back to the people who gave it to you. I think we all can agree on that English. The facts are the city taxpayers gave the hotel, the $3.5 million. And they're trying to get another $400,000. I'm not sure where that stands. They're creating jobs and investment in Missoula, and we wouldn't be here today without the MRA. Totally not true. I attended the MRA meeting when the approval was made for 3.597.844 in TIF assistance to the owner. Public comment. This is their minutes, not mine. Bob Moore, citizen, asked Holleran, I'm not sure that's pronounced right, what they will do if they don't get approval for funding from the MRA. England said public comment is allowed, but he said multiple times that public comment is not the right to cross-examine. All I did was ask him that if he didn't get the handout from the MRA, would the project still be done? I don't think that qualifies as cross-examination, but you can think whatever you want to think. He told Holleran if he wanted to address the question, he could, but it was not required. Holleran said it stresses the project, meaning my question as to whether it would be completed. Holleran said it would stress the project, sure, and it would involve a recapitalization. Moore asked if the hotel would finish the contract. Holleran said it would delay it. He stated right here in the minutes of the MRA that the project will be completed whether they got a dime from the MRA, meaning the taxpayers, or not. So if he's going to be praising somebody, he ought to be praising the taxpayers for giving him $3.5 million. That's my opinion. Well, a little best words.
Probably a good place to wrap up, Mr. Moore.
Is it already time?
It is.
Well, at this time, I'm going to wrap up.
You're out of practice.
I don't want you upset because this guy thinks you're a great fella. I think it's the taxpayers making him happy. Thanks anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Other general public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Items listed on that agenda were approved unanimously in council standing committees. We save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud, so folks in the audience and those at home will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment on these items before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. Looks like tonight's consent agenda has 6 items. The first is to approve claims, which we do every week. They're the city's accounts payable in the amount of $726,001.51 for checks dated March 5th of 2019. Number 2 was to approve a waiver from Missoula Municipal Code 9.30 entitled Noise Control for JAG grading and paving for bridge and embankment work on the West Broadway Island. Number 3 is the first reading and adoption of an ordinance. Council is setting a public hearing on March 18th of 2019 on an ordinance of the City of Missoula, County, Montana, amending Title 13, Missoula Municipal Code, Chapter 13.30.340, entitled Duty to Maintain Curb Cock and Curb Box, by adding the provisions requiring property owners to maintain their water service lines, allowing owners additional days to make water line repairs, and authorizing the Missoula Water Division to add outstanding repair charges to an owner's water bill. Number 4 is the first reading and preliminary adoption of an ordinance as well. Also setting a hearing on March 18th, 2019 on an ordinance that amends Missoula Municipal Code Title 3 entitled Revenue and Finance to establish Chapter 3.17 entitled Waterline Loan Program to provide temporary relief from the cost of water service line connection, repair, and related work for eligible residential property owners. Number 5 is although a quorum wasn't present in committee, they recommend that the council adopt a resolution of intent to sell a surplus Mako air compressor and Mako cascade system for amount of $2,500, and that sale going to the Swan Valley Emergency Services Incorporated in Condon, Montana. And finally, number 6 is to appoint Christopher Lehner to the Missoula Civic Television Advisory Commission as a regular member for a term that begins immediately and ends on December 31st of 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on any of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
On the items on the consent agenda, I think we'll roll with Sarah. Yes. I'm sorry, Armstrong. Armstrong's not here. Anderson. Yes. Let's try that. Anderson votes yes. Becerra votes yes. Cares votes yes. Dabari votes yes. Harp votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Merritt votes yes. Ramos votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 9 ayes and 3 absent.
And Ms. West is here for the record and would like to vote.
I had marked her out at the beginning of the meeting. West votes yes. That's now 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and the community forum. And we do have a community forum report this evening. Mr. Grimm.
Thank you. Community forum met in this room last Thursday, February 28th, from 7 to 9 p.m., and I was the moderator. We had 4 nice presentations. The first one was Kyla Peterson, gave an update on the Franklin School and the garden project that we helped them with by funding it through what we call a neighborhood grant. Tara Osendorf made a presentation on the pedestrian facilities master plan. Tom Zavitz and Gavin Wally made a presentation on the urban fringe development area, or you might call it UFDA or UFTA, which I understand maybe comes from Sweden. I don't know, whatever UFTA means. I thought maybe it was Norwegian, but it was a nice presentation. We as Community Forum, in terms of wanting to better understand the housing issue, will be inviting a number of different people to come and make presentations to us in the upcoming months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. We'll move on to special presentations. We have one this evening in the form of a proclamation. Pardon me. Whereas athletic trainers have a long history of providing quality health care for athletes and those engaged in physical activity based on specific tasks. I'm seeing nodding in the audience. That's a good sign. Knowledge and skills acquired through their nationally regulated educational processes. And whereas athletic trainers provide prevention of injuries, recognition, evaluation, and treatment, rehabilitation, healthcare administration, and education and guidance. And whereas the National Athletic Trainers Association represents and supports 45,000 members of the athletic training profession employed in the following settings: professional sports, colleges and universities, high schools, clinics and hospitals, corporate and industrial settings, and military branches. And whereas leading organizations concerned with athletic training and healthcare have joined together in a common desire to raise public awareness of the importance of the athletic training profession and to emphasize the importance of quality healthcare with the aforementioned settings. And whereas such an effort will improve healthcare for athletes and those engaged in physical activity and promote athletic trainers as healthcare professionals, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the month of March 2019 as National Athletic Training Month and urge all people of Montana to learn more about the importance of athletic training, including me. And we have some folks here who would like to receive this proclamation. Exemption is my understanding. Come on up. Thank you very much. You're welcome to say a word or two if you'd like.
No, I guess one sticker.
Oh, we got a sticker. Fantastic.
We planned on wristbands, but they have not come in yet.
Fantastic. The city attorney is feeling sort of sad and left out here. Oh, he's got one? All right. Everybody's got one? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We will move on then, ladies and gentlemen, to the public hearing portion of our agenda. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on a variety of issues. And following a staff report, pardon me, council and I will invite comment. Council typically votes on the same evening as a public hearing unless one council member elects to return that item to committee for further consideration. Our lone public hearing this evening is on a subdivision exemption at 2206 and 2206 and a half Fairview Avenue. And Mr. Bowen has our staff report this evening.
My name is Andrew Bowen, Development Services. This is a request from Rocky Mountain Home Buyers for approval of a subdivision exemption to request at 2206 and 2206 and a half Fairview Avenue. Missoula City Subdivision regulation requires City Council approval for exemptions when the reconfigured lots lose frontage on a public right-of-way. The reason for this request is that the proposed subdivision exemption aggregating 3 lots to 2 and relocating property boundaries will result in 2206 Fairview Avenue losing frontage on the alley. This slide shows the location of the property outlined in red. It is just northwest of the intersection of Fairview Avenue and Schilling Street. Here is a closer view of the property outlined in red. There are 2 existing dwelling units located close to the western parcel boundary. The property is zoned RM 2.7 residential, a zoning district that permits detached house, 2-unit house, multi-dwelling building, multi-dwelling house, and townhouse building types with units on a minimum parcel of 3,000 square feet. The property consists of 3 lots totaling 9,519 square feet. The existing houses are 2.5 and 4 feet respectively from the western property boundary and approximately 32 and 28 feet from the eastern property boundary. This slide shows the location of the proposed lot layout. The lot 32 has 1 existing house and fronts Fairview Avenue and an alley. It will have a 5-foot fee simple access to Fairview Avenue. Lot 34A fronts Fairview Avenue. A 5-foot wide private access easement shown in red provides access to the alley. The easement provides an area along the alley for trash service. The home on lot 32A is non-conforming to the zoning setbacks along the alley and the western property line. The home on lot 34A is non-conforming to the zoning setbacks on the western property line. Both homes comply with all other zoning setbacks. The existing nonconformities will not be increased with this boundary line relocation. There is no configuration of the boundary line that would provide a 5-foot fee simple access to the alley for the front lot and meet zoning setbacks from the existing house to the new boundary line. An example of a typical boundary line relocation configuration is shown in green. The typical configuration would allow a 5-foot fee simple access for both lots to both public right-of-ways. This is a view from Fairview Avenue of the front house on the proposed lot 34A. This is a view of the house off the alley to the proposed lot 32A. Following a site visit, a shed that was shown that was thought to be removed was still on the site. Staff are recommending an additional condition to ensure that the shed is relocated onto Lot 34A. Staff are recommending 2 conditions with this application. One condition provides 5-foot fee simple access from Lot 34A to the alley through a private access easement on Lot 32A. A second condition requires the existing shed to be relocated onto Lot 34A prior to filing the amended plat. In conclusion, the motion before City Council is to approve or deny the subdivision exemption in accordance with MCA and the Montana Code Annotated and the Missoula City Subdivision Regulations based on the materials submitted in the application packet and subject to the 2 conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. With that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone care to comment on this proposed subdivision exemption? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Ms. Merritt?
Just a couple of quick questions, mainly for the record. Given the size of these 2 lots, would it be possible to remove either of those houses and build a multi-dwelling unit?
The maximum. So the zoning district requires 2,700 square feet per residential unit. Neither of those proposed lots would be able to have a second standalone residential unit, but they could have one accessory dwelling unit and all the regulations that come with that. So 2 maximum.
Further questions? Seeing none, Mr. DeBari.
Thank you. So just for folks on council and in the audience, the recommended motion on the agenda is different than the one on the screen, so I'm going to do my best to get the one on the screen. I'll just read it from the screen then. So I move that council approve the subdivision exemption request in accordance with MCA 76-3-2071D for 5 or fewer lots within a platted subdivision, the relocation of common boundaries, and MCA 76-3-2071F aggregation of parcels or lots when a certificate of survey or subdivision plat shows that the boundaries of the original parcels have been eliminated and the boundaries of a larger aggregate parcel are established. And Missoula City Subdivision Regulations, Article 8, Section 8-040.4E2D states that for lots that have fee simple access to 2 or fewer public roads, rearrangement or redesign of lots that result in elimination of an existing access or reduction of access to less than 5 feet in width, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to the 1 original condition of approval and 1 amended condition of approval.
Thank you, sir.
That was kind of a mouthful.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
I was trying to catch up too with that motion. All right. On the motion to approve the subdivision exemption, we'll start this round with Becerra. Becerra votes yes. Cares votes yes. DeBari votes yes. Harp votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Merritt votes yes. Ramos votes yes. West votes yes. And Anderson votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the motion is approved. We have no additional public hearings this evening. I will pass on communications from the mayor and begin general comments from council members with Mr. DeBari. Ms. Jones.
Okay. I actually have a lot to cover tonight, so I will try and jump right in here. First of all, I just wanted to clarify, last week there was some discussion on council about how we can possibly fund some of the issues surrounding homeless people in Missoula, and I just wanted to clarify that sometimes these things aren't nearly as simple as they sound at first blush. There was some references made to using MRA money, which there is a public art project being put into the MRL park. That is all MRA money, which is highly regulated by state law and has to be spent within that district. That is not a bucket of money that we can take from and just put in a different area. So I just wanted to clarify that. Also, there was discussion regarding the fact that Bella Vista Field at Fort Missoula Regional Park needs some supplemental fill put on it to get it up to par. And those funds come from the Park District funds, which are dedicated to the operations of Fort Missoula Regional Park. They are under an interlocal agreement between the City of Missoula and the County of Missoula, and the city does not have the authority or discretion to just pull that money out of that bucket and put it in a different direction. So I feel like it's important to have clarity on this because we don't necessarily have a lot of discretion to pull money from different places and put them towards something that we want to at times. There's actually a lot of sideboards in place that we have to work with because that's how government works. On a separate issue, I just wanted to acknowledge that there is a delegation from Japan currently in Missoula from the Prime Minister Abe's office and basically their equivalent of our State Department, and the Consul General from Seattle, from Japan. They are in town because Montana has a very strong relationship with Japan based on Senator Mike Mansfield, who fostered those relationships and was the ambassador to Japan for years. And as a result, Japan is actually a huge trading partner for Montana. So this delegation is in town, and I had the pleasure of having lunch with them, and Mr. Hiroto Ogawa, who was the Deputy Director of Office of Global Communications, and I wanted to hand it to them that they are visiting big cities such as San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, but they made a point to travel to Montana and come to Missoula because they are getting ideas to take back on how to foster their relationship with us, and a big focus for them is how to increase Japanese students coming to the University of Montana as international students. So this was all in our best interests, and we had a great talk with a lot of community leaders. And I wanted to also say, I have to pull it up on my phone here, they specifically scheduled their visit here to Missoula to coincide with the World Quest academic event, which is 300 high school students are here in Missoula from across the state of Montana for this academic World Quest. It is sponsored by the World Affairs Council, and it builds on the United States and Japanese relations, which were fostered by the Mansfield Center. So I know my son is on one of the World Quest teams from Hellgate. He's over there today and tomorrow, and each team has 4 kids, and one of the 4 topics is Japanese-United States relations. So it's really interesting that these people are here in town, and they were doing some workshops with some of the university students and high school students. So I just wanted to have a shout out to the Japanese delegation, and thank you for spending some time in Missoula to strengthen our connections with Japan.
Ms. Karras. Ms. Becerra. Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually wanted to echo the earlier sentiments of Councilwoman Jones, and I say that as somebody that's been very critical of MRA and somebody that voted no on the other project, but she's 100% right that money cannot just be taken and used for anything that the council wishes, whether it's homeless or anything really, and I think that is a good distinction to make, and I'm glad that you brought that up. In other news, I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened in Congress. A little over a week ago, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell made his obligatory visit to Congress for the year, and it consisted of the typical posturing that you would expect on partisan lines, where the Republicans were talking about how great the economy was, the Democrats were talking about how bad it was. But I think one thing that was very much overlooked was the fact that Jerome Powell mentioned that the Fed had had their eyes set on a target goal of keeping inflation below 2% annually. They wanted to keep inflation below 2% annually. And something that was missed in what Jerome Powell said to Congress was that now they want to keep inflation at an average of 2%. So that is a huge distinction. That's going to be calculated over a 15-year time span. So there's no telling how high inflation can go. There's also something that was recorded in the Federal Reserve minutes 2 weeks ago. They were just released. It actually happened a month ago, but the minutes were released 2 weeks ago. Where they said that they are no longer going to continue the request for quantitative tightening. So basically what that means is that during the recession in 2007 and 8 and the years following, what happened is the Federal Reserve actually printed money through quantitative easing and used that money to purchase debt from the government to fund the deficit because we didn't have enough money through taxes to fund the deficit. So basically what happened is the Federal Reserve printed the money through quantitative easing and purchased their own debt. So they printed money here and then purchased debt from the government. And they assured us at the time that it was not monetary, or it was not quantitative, it was not debt monetization because they were going to sell that. They were going to shrink their balance sheet through quantitative tightening, and they had a quantitative tightening program that was basically on autopilot. And what happened with the stock market in December caused them to completely reverse course. So instead of us now thinking we're in a rising interest rate environment, we're actually, they're talking about not only keeping interest rates stable, but possibly lowering interest rates yet again, so flooding the market with cheap money. And they're no longer trying to shrink that balance sheet. So all the money, all the debt that they purchased with the quantitative tightening, their whole sentiment was it was not monetization because they were going to sell off the debt eventually. But they were trying to do that before this happened. Now they've decided that they're going to keep their balance sheet at the $4.7 trillion. So they've abandoned quantitative tightening, and it's just something that I think that the public should be aware of, that despite what people say about the economy, maybe it's not in as great of shape as people are telling you, because as they barely raise interest rates, the stock market obviously reacts, and now the Fed has completely reversed course. So I just thought it was something that people should be aware of to watch out for with your personal budgets to prepare for anything. So,
Mr. Hess, Ms. West.
So I just, so the NMCDC which is where I work, and the city of Missoula co-managed the Moon Randolph Homestead together. And I just wanted to pitch that the homestead is looking for people to participate in a planning team. And so the deadline for that is this Friday to apply to participate in that. And the other thing that's happening in my world is that we are currently looking for movie suggestions for the Missoula Outdoor Cinema. So if you have a favorite movie that just needs to be shared with all of Missoula, feel free to send it to me. Thanks.
I would suggest rebroadcasting council meetings. Ms. Anderson?
Well, in case she doesn't take you up on that suggestion, may I suggest Steel Magnolias? Such a good classic. Anyways, I just want to acknowledge that this week, March 8th, is International Women's Day. And the theme is for this year's International Women's Day is Balance for Better. I think it's important that we continue to mark these occasions. And one of the things that the reason why the first week of March is considered to be International Women's Day is because it's also the day where women finally have reached parity on what a man made for last year. So it takes us working all the way into March on average for women to catch up to what men made in 2018. So I applaud the city of Missoula for doing many efforts to create a more balanced gender working environment, but as national statistics show, we have a long ways to go, and we also have a long ways to go for our Native American and sisters for how much they do not make compared to their male counterparts. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and acknowledge that the efforts of Missoula and the state of Montana, there's a bill through the legislature that is going to do more to make it so that no one can be punished for speaking about how much they make, which is one of the keys to creating a more balanced gender parity in the workplace. So thank you for your work, and just wanted to acknowledge that.
Ms. Harp.
I'll pass.
Ms. Merritt.
I would like to remind folks that the avalanche conditions on Mount Jumbo continue to exist, and that people must stay off all of Mount Jumbo, even the areas that are normally open to people, should be avoided. The folks who were up there taking measurements of the avalanche risk over the weekend reported that they still saw ski tracks out on the side of the hill. And what it's doing is putting all the people who live at the base of the hill in grave danger. And I would just ask everyone to remind all your friends who go out recreating, no amount of recreation is worth the people's lives. Thanks.
And we have no committee reports this evening. Our item of new business is a legislative update. It's available online. We've hit the midpoint, transmittal, and now the second half begins. Any comments, questions regarding the session? All right, seeing none, are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements?
Mayor Engen, I have one.
Ms. Rabine.
Well, Stacy said March 8th, and that perked up my ears because March 8th is Missoula's birthday. We're going to be 136. Happy birthday, us.
Fantastic. We'll get a cake. Seeing no other business before the body, as always, I thank you for your service. We will be adjourned.